Today, dear students, we are going to study a very interesting and inspiring lesson called A Letter to God. This story is written by G.L. Fuentes, and it teaches us about faith, hope, kindness, and human emotions. The story is about a poor farmer named Lencho who completely depends on nature for his farming. One day, a terrible hailstorm destroys all his crops, and he faces great sadness and difficulty. But Lencho has strong faith in God and believes that God will surely help him. As we read the lesson, we will discuss it paragraph by paragraph to understand the events clearly, learn the meanings of difficult words, and understand the feelings and thoughts of the characters. We will also see how faith and kindness play an important role in the story. Now let's read the first paragraph. The house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with the flowers that always promised a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. Throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. Here, the first thing we see is that Lencho's house was the only house in the whole valley. It was built on the top of a small hill. From there, Lencho could clearly see the river, the cornfields, and the flowers growing in the fields. The flowers were a sign that there would be a good harvest. Everything was good, but the fields needed rain to grow properly. Even a small shower would help. That morning, Lencho kept looking towards the northeast sky because he knew his fields very well and was hoping for rain. Now let's read the following paragraph. Now we're really going to get some water, woman. The woman who was preparing supper replied, Yes, God willing. The older boys were working in the field, while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all, Come for dinner. It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. The air was fresh and sweet. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. And when he returned, he exclaimed, These aren't raindrops falling from the sky. They are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces, and the little ones are 5s. Lencho was very happy because he believed that rain was finally coming for his crops. He said to his wife, Now we're really going to get some water, meaning they would finally receive good rain. His wife was making supper and replied, Yes, God willing. This means she hoped God would allow the rain to come. At that time, the older boys were working in the fields, while the younger children were playing near the house. Later, their mother called everyone to come and eat dinner. While they were eating, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain started falling. In the northeast, huge dark clouds were coming closer. The weather felt cool, fresh, and pleasant. Lencho was so happy that he went outside just to enjoy feeling the rain on his body. When he came back inside, he said happily, These aren't raindrops, they are new coins. By this, he meant the rain was very valuable to him because it would help his crops grow and give him a good harvest. He compared the big raindrops to 10-cent coins and the small drops to 5-cent coins because he thought the rain would bring money and prosperity to his family. As I read the third paragraph, please read along with me. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers, draped in a curtain of rain. But suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. These truly did resemble new silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. Lencho looked happily at the field of ripe corn and flowers, which was covered by a curtain of rain. But suddenly a strong wind started blowing, and very large hailstones began to fall with the rain. The hailstones looked like shiny silver coins. The boys ran out into the rain to collect the frozen hailstones, which looked like pearls. "It's really getting bad now," exclaimed the man. "I hope it passes quickly." It did not pass quickly. For an hour the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. The field was white, as if covered with salt. Lencho said that the weather was becoming very bad and hoped that the storm would stop soon. But the hailstorm continued for 1 hour. Hailstones fell everywhere, on the house, garden, hills, cornfield, and the whole valley. The field looked white, as if salt had been spread all over it. Not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons, "A plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn." That night was a sorrowful one. All our work for nothing. There's no one who can help us. We'll all go hungry this year. Children, this paragraph shows the terrible effect of the hailstorm on Lencho's farm. After the storm, all the leaves had fallen from the trees. The corn crop was completely destroyed, and all the flowers were gone. Lencho became very sad because his entire hard work was ruined. He told his sons that even a plague of locusts would have caused less damage than the hailstorm. The hailstorm had destroyed everything, and they would have no corn to harvest that year. That night, the family felt hopeless and sorrowful. They thought all their hard work had gone to waste. Nobody could help them, and they might suffer from hunger during the year. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope: help from God. Don't be so upset, even though this seems like a total loss. Remember, no one dies of hunger. That's what they say. No one dies of hunger. All through the night, Lencho thought only of his one hope: the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. Lencho was an ox of a man, working like an animal in the fields, but still he knew how to write. The following Sunday, at daybreak, he began to write a letter, which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. Children, even though Lencho and his family had lost all their crops, they still had one hope. They believed that God would help them. They were very sad, but they tried to comfort one another by saying that people do not die of hunger easily. Lencho had great faith in God. Throughout the night, he kept thinking only about God's help. He believed that God sees everything, even the thoughts and feelings hidden inside a person's heart. The writer describes Lencho as an ox of a man. This means he was very hard-working and strong like an ox, working continuously in the fields. Even though he was a simple farmer, he knew how to write. So, on Sunday morning, Lencho decided to write a letter. He went to town himself to post it. The most surprising thing is that he wrote the letter directly to God because he truly believed God would help him. "God," he wrote, "if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes, because the hailstorm." He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside, and still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. Students, in this paragraph, we see Lencho's deep faith in God. After losing all his crops in the hailstorm, he became very worried about his family. So he decided to write a letter to God asking for help. In the letter, Lencho wrote that if God did not help him, his family would suffer from hunger that year. He requested 100 pesos so that he could sow his fields again and also take care of his family until the next crop was ready. This shows that Lencho completely trusted God and believed that God would surely answer his prayer. After writing the letter, he addressed the envelope to God. Then he went to the post office, pasted a stamp on the envelope, and dropped it into the mailbox. Even though it may sound unusual, Lencho had full confidence that his letter would reach God.
One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss laughing heartily and showed him the letter to God. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. The postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow, also broke out laughing, but almost immediately he turned serious and, tapping the letter on his desk, commented, "What faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter," starting up a correspondence with God. In this paragraph, we see what happened to Lencho's letter after it reached the post office. One of the post office employees, who was also a postman, noticed the address written on the envelope, "To God." He found it very funny because he had never seen such an address before in his entire career. So he laughed loudly and showed the letter to the postmaster. At first, the postmaster, who was a kind and friendly man, also laughed when he saw the address. But after a moment, he became serious. He was deeply touched by Lencho's strong faith in God. The postmaster admired Lencho's belief and said, "What faith?" This means he was surprised and impressed by the man's complete trust in God. He even wished that he himself could have such strong faith. The postmaster also remarked that Lencho had started a direct correspondence with God, meaning he was writing letters to God as if God were a real person who would reply to him. So in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea: answer the letter. But when he opened it, it was evident that to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill, ink and paper. But he stuck to his resolution. He asked for money from his employees. He himself gave part of his salary, and several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. Students, in this paragraph, we see the kindness and generosity of the postmaster. After reading Lencho's letter, the postmaster did not want Lencho to lose his faith in God. He was deeply moved by Lencho's innocent belief and decided to help him. So the postmaster came up with an idea. He decided to answer the letter himself so that Lencho would continue believing in God. However, when he opened the letter and read that Lencho was asking for money, he realized that good wishes alone were not enough. To truly help Lencho, he needed actual money. Even then, the postmaster did not give up. He remained firm in his decision. He asked the employees of the post office to contribute some money. He himself gave a part of his own salary, and he also requested some of his friends to donate money for an act of charity, meaning to help someone in need. This paragraph shows us that the postmaster was not only kind-hearted, but also willing to make personal sacrifices to help another person and protect his faith. It was impossible for him to gather together the 100 pesos, so he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Lencho, and with it a letter containing only a single word as a signature: God. The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him, while the postmaster, experiencing the contentment of a man who has performed a good deed, looked on from his office. Children, in these paragraphs, we see how hard the postmaster tried to help Lencho. Lencho had asked God for 100 pesos, but the postmaster could not collect that much money. Even after taking donations from the post office employees, giving part of his own salary, and asking his friends to contribute, he was able to gather only a little more than half of the amount. Still, the postmaster decided to send the money to Lencho because he did not want Lencho's faith in God to break. He placed the money in an envelope addressed to Lencho. Along with the money, he included a short letter and signed it with only one word: God. This was done so that Lencho would believe the money had truly come from God. The next Sunday, Lencho came to the post office earlier than usual because he was eagerly waiting for a reply. He had complete faith that God would answer his letter. The postman personally handed the letter to Lencho, while the postmaster watched from his office. At that moment, the postmaster felt very happy and satisfied because he believed he had done a kind and noble deed by helping a poor farmer and protecting his faith. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money, such was his confidence. But he became angry when he counted the money. God could not have made a mistake, nor could he have denied Lencho what he had requested. Immediately, Lencho went up to the window to ask for paper and ink. On the public writing table, he started to write, with much wrinkling of his brow, caused by the effort he had to make to express his ideas. When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp which he licked and then affixed to the envelope with a blow of his fist. The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went to open it. It said, "God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest since I need it very much. But don't send it to me through the mail because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks." Lencho. Children, in these final paragraphs, we see Lencho's strong faith in God once again. When he received the money, he was not surprised at all because he truly believed that God had sent it to him. However, when he counted the money, he became angry because the amount was less than what he had asked for. Lencho believed that God could never make a mistake, so he thought that someone must have taken the missing money. He did not doubt God at all. Immediately, Lencho asked for paper and ink and started writing another letter to God. He worked very hard to express his thoughts clearly. After finishing the letter, he bought a stamp, pasted it on the envelope, and dropped the letter into the mailbox. The postmaster quickly opened the letter to read it. In the letter, Lencho wrote that he had received only 70 pesos instead of 100. He asked God to send the remaining money because he needed it badly. Then comes the humorous and ironic part of the story. Lencho requested God not to send the money through the mail because he believed that the post office employees were a bunch of crooks, meaning dishonest people. This ending is ironic because the same post office employees, especially the postmaster, were the ones who had actually helped him. The story teaches us about faith, innocence, kindness, and human misunderstanding. I hope you enjoy this lesson. See you in the part 2 video where we will discuss important questions for your examination.